God's best for us is not what things He can give. His best is giving Himself to us. Too many people have tried to apprehend the love of God and the suffering in their world, yet haven't, because God isn't bigger to them than their world is. Have faith that Christ will light up the darkest tombs in your life.
Thanks for joining us on Life Journeys, a podcast about thriving through the worst pain that life brings. With global initiatives threatening big changes to our way of life, we're going to need to activate Jesus' words about mountain-moving faith. Words That Work is the ongoing series on Life Journeys that is rooted in releasing revelational words of faith that will work every time and with everyone. It's about moving the mountains that keep us from the presence and goodness of God. It's about defining our life purpose and identity through encountering Him until we have the power to move the obstacles that are destroying our liberty and hope.
I want to talk to you about overcoming those stubborn, chronic areas of frustration, temptation, and emotions that attempt to destroy our well-being and life purpose. It's about rediscovering your hope. We're living in an age where people have long been saying, what's wrong with this country? What's wrong with the government? Education, healthcare, social media, and more. But the real question I've been dwelling on is, what's wrong with me? Why don't I have more love, patience, and hope? Why do I so easily serve injustice, pain, or anger and sorrow by letting what's wrong with both me and the nation lead me along? Today I prayed, Lord, I don't want to serve fear or hurt or memories or sickness or finances or things or injustice. If I do, they will lead me into bondage I can't get out of. I don't want to serve my reputation or my ego or self-glory or the shiny things of our modern world. I realize that when I'm serving emotions, I'm letting my feelings tell me what to believe. Fear, you see, does worship the darkness. Sorrow does worship self. Little wonder that God put no other gods before Him and make no idols at the top of the list of commandments. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. In the Lord's Prayer, that's founded upon the truth that God reigns, and we're living in His kingdom by His power and for His glory. Or we will be led into temptation. Peter talks about trials. He says, if need be, you are in heaviness through many trials. If need be. You see, the heart issue is then stated in the Lord's Prayer, for thine is the kingdom, and the power and the glory forever. When we live in the kingdom reign of God by His power and for His glory, we're serving Him. We're not serving memories or fears or trauma, injustice, sickness and sorrow, and our stuff, really. Understand this. Our liberty actually becomes bound to the thing we're serving. We say, I'm free to follow whatever I want, and that's true, you are, but do you realize that what you want will lead you into bondage if you don't choose to follow Jesus before all others? You see, the rationale for praying, God, lead us not into temptation, is recognizing that the kingdom and power and the glory for all things is God's. It's about living in the reign of His kingdom. It's about living by God's power and our right and responsibility to do so. It's about living in as well as for God's glory. Serving God means living for Him by His power, not mine. When we attempt the Christian walk by our power, we lose our joy and vitality until we wind up unable to have power over sin. We start serving our emotions and problems and memories, among other things. You see, serving is a power issue. What is it that presents itself before us as having the power to make us happy, at ease, hopeful, or at peace? One day God spoke to my heart, when you believe me, your soul is released from pressure, and you're able to follow the lead of my love for this world. Not too long ago, God began to show me that I was struggling spiritually and emotionally because my hope was under attack. When I sit down to do life, I need to be reined in by my purpose in life. When I start to get wound up, I need to recenter on why I'm in this world. It's not to keep my smart home working flawlessly. It's not to get all the bugs out of my devices. It's to love. It's to do all I do for the glory of God. I don't have to have everything my way. Life is not about my dedication to my own ease and comfort. I awoke feeling awful after several quite good days. There seemed no reason, and it was very discouraging. But you see, over and over it goes, year after year, with a good day, or even a few good hours, and then bam, back into the tank for days or weeks or even months. It's like, how in the world can I take my cue from love when my body and energy is pummeled with no warning? The first positive thought then came. Your life is not your history, your physical condition, or your trials. It's Jesus. He is your hope, not whether or not you're going to feel stronger soon. The choice was upon me. Am I going to serve my trials, or is the reign of God's glory and power going to be my hope today? As I was pondering these things the next morning, God spoke to me. Hope deferred makes the heart sick. Later I turned to Proverbs 13:12. When desires come, it is a tree of life. I looked up the verse, and lo and behold, I had written the same things about hope in trials over 3.5 years earlier. He was showing me that my hopes had gotten misplaced from discouragement, and I was doubting him. Then I read the psalmist, "Whom have I in heaven but thee? And there is none upon earth that I desire beside thee. My flesh and my heart fails, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever." It truly is power for God to have so shown himself to us to the extent that he has become our deepest desire. That's where victory is found in the soul. If our deepest desire is for even the physical, earthly answers to prayer for our victory over our present storms, that may very well rise up to our defeat. God said to Abraham, "I am your exceeding and great reward." His best for us is not what things he can give us or do for us. His best is God giving himself to us. Then I wrote down the verse, "Therefore I say unto you, what things soever you desire, when you pray, believe that you receive them, and you shall have them." Wow! I can believe that as vast and glorious as God is, my exceedingly great reward, he has given himself to you and me. Just imagine the expanse of the universe displaying God's image is being poured down to you today. No idol can compete, only rob us of our victory. Too many people have tried to apprehend the love of God amidst the suffering in their world, but it hasn't worked because God isn't bigger to them than their world is. These truths challenged me to live in the power of God, not the power of self. I wrote down, when I fall because I'm physically weak, it's an indication that I've been trying to overcome in my own strength to begin with. And then when my weakness has caused me to lose hope, I would be well served to realize that I have not fully accepted Jesus as my hope. Suddenly I have direction. Now, faith is the substance of things hoped for. If my heart's true hope is not yet set on heaven and Christ, but rather on the world, my strength and material things, then my hope and my faith are not where they should be. My trials, and particularly my weaknesses, will reveal my true hope. And through this, my faith will be refined. You see, the refining of faith will clarify where our hope truly lies. Faith must have heaven and the glory of God as its foundational hope. I get frustrated when my hopes are not achieved because I'm hoping in physical strength today or some other temporary desires. It seems that I must mine the hope of Christ out of the dark caves of this world and my own crumbling goods. For it's only there that the fragility and futility and vanity of earthly hopes are exposed. It is only there that I realize that I have not allowed the life of Christ to shine as brightly and powerfully as it needs to be. You see, I must have faith that Christ can light up the tombs of this world, where my fleshly, selfish life is entangled in its weakness and powerlessness. Instead of finding despair and defeat, it is in these dark tunnels of adversity that I need to find that the light and the life of Christ will surely prevail. Don't be afraid ever again to bear the torch of heaven in the dark places of your life, where all hope only seems to be gone. That's where the greatest power of heaven can burst on the scene and be revealed. This I had not known unless I had been brought to the edge of despair and fear and failure. My shepherd had to lead me into the valley of the shadow of death to show me how to fear no evil. When my hope is in order, then my priorities will naturally be in order. When right priorities comes into being, the release of my purpose for being on the earth is seen. And with an enduring purpose, I can handle any trial. It's through right priorities and clear purpose that I will be enabled to love and to get the love of God to reign again in me. You see, hope has everything to do with the faith that releases the power of God's kingdom. Inner desires that are way down deep can control a man's countenance and qualify his hopes, and if they're not in line with God to be our biggest blessing in life, then sorrow over weakness and earthly disappointments can take over all too quickly. Life often doesn't have fair weather in it, but I refuse to let this earth's many setbacks be my emotional, mental, or physical governor. You see, again, this is why God has always warned us about idols. They will eventually rob us of every joy that we could have in Him. The psalmist said, "Thou art my God. Early will I seek Thee. My soul thirsts for Thee. My flesh longs for Thee, in a dry and thirsty land where no water is, to see Thy power and Thy glory. My heart and my flesh cry out for the living God." I'm still learning that the soul's distress is not so much from the presence of life's storms, but from the absence of God's presence.
You can unlock the presence of God in your life. There are revelation principles that remove the mountains, keeping us from joy, hope, peace, and purpose when our world gets turned upside down. Look for these words that work with Pastor Hardika as he shares what has helped him when life got hard. And don't forget to check out his book, The Fortress and the Firebrand, available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Thanks for listening to Life Journeys.
God's best for us is not what things He can give. His best is giving Himself to us. Too many people have tried to apprehend the love of God and the suffering in their world, yet haven't, because God isn't bigger to them than their world is. Have faith that Christ will light up the darkest tombs in your life.